It's just religion. It's just religion.
Hello and welcome to RS in 5 or Less, religious studies in less time than it takes to get a haircut. See? Today we're thinking about Jesus' healing of the boy with a demon possession. Let's have a read of the passage in Mark 9, verses 14 to 29.
When they came to the disciples, they saw a great crowd around them, and some scribes arguing with them. When the whole crowd saw him, they were immediately overcome with awe, and they ran forward to greet him. He asked them, "What are you arguing about with them?" Someone from the crowd answered him, "Teacher, I brought you my son. He has a spirit that makes him unable to speak, and whenever it seizes him, it dashes him down, and he foams and grounds his teeth, and becomes rigid. And I asked your disciples to cast it out, but they could not do so." He answered them, "You faithless generation, how much longer must I be among you? How much longer must I put up with you? Bring him to me." And they brought the boy to him. When the spirit saw him, immediately it threw the boy into convulsions, and he fell on the ground and rolled about, foaming at the mouth. Jesus asked the father, "How long has this been happening to him?" And he said, "From childhood. It has often cast him into the fire and into the water to destroy him. But if you are able to do anything, have pity on us and help us." Jesus said to him, "If you are able, all things can be done for the one who believes." Immediately the father of the boy cried out, "I believe, help my unbelief." When Jesus saw that the crowd came running together, he rebuked the unclean spirit, saying to it, "You spirit that keeps this boy from speaking and hearing, I command you, come out of him and never enter him again." After crying out and convulsing him terribly, it came out, and the boy was like a corpse, so that most of them said, "He is dead." But Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him up, and he was able to stand. When he entered the house, his disciples asked him privately, "Why could we not cast it out?" But he said to them, "This kind can only come out through prayer."
The context of this encounter is that it happens immediately after the transfiguration. So the boy's father goes to find Jesus and instead finds his disciples, who are unable to drive this evil spirit from this young boy. As a father myself, I can only imagine the desperation and the horror at witnessing your child be overtaken by this. Question one is, who is Jesus exasperated with when he calls them a faithless generation? The boy's father asked Jesus, quote, "If you are able, please do anything to help us." The boy responds to this with one of my favorite lines from Mark's Gospel, "I believe, help my unbelief." This really ties into the emphasis Mark puts on faith in his gospel. Sometimes faith is difficult. Sometimes faith does not come naturally. And sometimes faith comes from a place of desperation rather than a place of peace. All of these are acceptable. And when the boy's father says to Jesus, "I believe, help my unbelief," he wants to have faith. And he goes to Christ with what he has to offer. This deliverance from an evil spirit, sometimes called an exorcism, points to the importance of a few things. Faith, as we've already mentioned, but also Jesus' authority. Notice he commands the evil spirit to come out of the boy. He doesn't request it. Also, it points to the importance of prayer. The disciples, the 9 who didn't witness the transfiguration, were dismayed that they were unable to drive this demon out of the boy. Previously in Mark's Gospel, they had been sent out with authority to drive out evil spirits. Perhaps Jesus was exasperated with those disciples because they wouldn't pray. Maybe they were coming to this exorcism from the wrong place, from a place of "we are the disciples and therefore we're brilliant," rather than submission of prayer to the Heavenly Father. For 21st century Christians, this passage asks a couple of important questions. Firstly, do you believe in demons today? Do you believe in the power of prayer? Can prayer change things? Why didn't Jesus' disciples have the ability to drive out this evil spirit when Jesus had previously given them the authority to do so earlier in Mark's Gospel? How should the modern world respond when faced with a question of a miracle? For an extension, look up Lourdes in France, a place of pilgrimage where miracles are said to occur today. How important are miracles to the 21st century Christian? Are they something that point simply to Jesus' divinity in the first century? Or are they a part and parcel of Christian life today?